I want to start today with a question, and it's one from the source material that honestly made me a little uncomfortable when I first read it.
Yeah.
It asks, what if the most strategic, high-stakes mission field you will ever enter isn't across an ocean, but is actually within walking distance of where you sleep?
It's one of those questions that sounds simple, until you really sit with it.
Right. Because we're so conditioned to think of mission, and that could be humanitarian work, religious stuff, any kind of social impact as something that happens over there.
It involves a passport.
Exactly. A long flight, a totally different time zone. But today, we're unpacking a manual called Launching Local Mission Initiatives.
And I know that title sounds a little corporate.
A bit, yeah. But the content is surprisingly disruptive. It's basically a field guide for rehumanizing our own neighborhoods.
Disruptive is a good word for it. This isn't a guide on, how to host a better block party. It's a strategic framework for what the text calls faithful presence.
Which brings us to this first big concept they lay out. I found it fascinating. They call it the quiet paradox.
And this is really the backdrop for everything else we're going to talk about.
So what is it?
The quiet paradox is this tension in modern life where we have incredibly high global awareness.
But fragmented local engagement.
Precisely. So you can pull up your phone and know all about a crisis happening halfway across the world. You can feel this genuine empathy for people you'll never meet.
But if you had to name, say, the 3 biggest struggles of the family living right across the street,
You draw a blank.
I might know their dog's name. Maybe. That's about it.
And that's the paradox. We've traded actual proximity for digital connectivity.
And the source argues this isn't just some, social quirk. It's a huge strategic failure if you actually want to make a difference.
Right. The whole argument is that local isn't the minor leagues. It's the foundation. So our mission today is to unpack that. We're going to look at why local can be more complex than global, and we have to tackle the Sager complex.
Oh, definitely. A trap we've all fallen into.
And then we'll break down a really specific framework the source provides, this 90-day pilot project, to get you from just good intentions to, actual action.
Let's start with the philosophy, though. The text calls it the theology of nearness. And even if you're not coming at this from a religious angle, the strategic pivot here is really key.
It's all about 2 models, attractional versus incarnational.
Okay, so the attractional model, that's been the default for a long time.
For decades, for nonprofits, churches, you name it. It's basically the field of dreams approach.
Build it and they will come.
Exactly. You build a cool building, you have the best programs, the best coffee, and the whole strategy is to create this gravitational pull that brings people out of their neighborhoods and into your space.
It centers the institution. Come to us.
But the text says that's just not working anymore. People are. They're just not looking for another builder to go to. So the pivot is to this incarnational model.
And that's drawing from a theological idea.
Right, from John 1:1. The core idea is that God didn't just, send an email from heaven.
He didn't broadcast a solution.
No. He moved into the neighborhood.
I love that phrasing. It means proximity is the strategy.
It completely changes how you measure success. It's not about how many people walk through your doors anymore. It's about how deeply you're embedded in the places where life is already happening.
The source calls them the sacred geography of the ordinary.
Which sounds poetic, but it's so practical. It means the grocery store, the school pickup line, the local park. These aren't just dead spaces, they are the mission field.
And it reminds me of that story of the Good Samaritan. The lawyer asks, who is my neighbor? Because he wants a map, right? He wants boundaries.
He wants to know who he can ignore.
Exactly, who he's not responsible for.
And the answer just blows up the map. It says your neighbor isn't about geography or demographics, it's just who are you near? That's your responsibility.
Okay, so let's say I'm sold. I'm bought into this idea. My type of personality immediately kicks in and says, great, let's fix things. I see a problem, let's launch a program.
And that is the exact moment the source just yells, stop.
It calls that impulse folly, which is a strong word.
It is, because most of us skip the most important step, the audit. Or, simply seeing.
This is segment 2, the local mission audit. I mean, I feel like I see my neighborhood. I drive through it every day.
But do you see it, or do you just see your route? We all have this tunnel vision. We see the things that affect us, the traffic, our coffee shop.
Right.
The audit is about taking off the blinders. And specifically, it warns against what's called the deficit mindset.
Okay, break that down. If I want to help, shouldn't I be looking for the problems?
It's the intuitive trap, isn't it? If you walk into a community and all you do is map the deficits, the crime, the poverty, the broken windows, you're framing them as a project.
And you're framing yourself as the hero. I have the resources, you have the problem.
Exactly. It's so disempowering. So the source pushes this thing called ABCD, asset-based community development.
Meaning you start by mapping the assets.
Yes.
Yes.
Start there. Who are the natural leaders here? What skills already exist? What's working?
The story in the text about the congregation with the map really hit this home for me.
Oh, it's such a powerful visual. They put a huge map of their city on a wall, and they asked everyone to put a pin where they live, where they work, and where they volunteer.
And the map was not evenly covered, I'm guessing?
Not even close. They had pins all over the wealthy suburbs, all over the business district, but then there were these huge blind spots, invisible zones, they called them.
Whole neighborhoods where they had zero presence.
It was a massive wake-up call. It shifted them from just, random acts of kindness to a strategy of focused presence, and they had to get into the gaps.
So to do that, the source suggests something called the listening walk. And I'll be honest, at first I thought, okay, so we're just walking around.
It sounds passive, but it's really intelligence gathering. You walk the same route over and over. But the rule is you can't fix anything, and you can't preach to anyone. You're just there to observe.
Observe what, though?
The rhythms, the social fabric. Where do people gather? Is it the barbershop? Where are the invisible walls? Do the kids from this side of the street play with the kids from that side?
You're trying to understand the ecosystem before you introduce a new species.
That is a perfect analogy, because if you don't, you become an invasive species, which leads right into the savior complex.
Yep, here we are, segment 3. This is always the uncomfortable part.
It's the shadow side of wanting to do good, isn't it? That rush you get thinking, I am here to rescue these people. It feels noble.
Looks great on social media.
But the source is just brutal. It says it creates dependency and it destroys dignity.
It's the idea that we're the solution and they're just the problem.
Right. And the antidote they offer is cultural humility. You enter as a learner, not as the expert.
There was that example about the youth program. I think anyone who's tried to start an initiative will feel this one.
The Invisible Youth Center.
Yeah.
A well-meaning group sees kids on the street and says, we need a youth center. They'll get video games, tutors, the whole thing.
They start fundraising, drawing up plans.
But then they finally pause and do some listening, some of that ABCD work, and they find out that there's a grandmother figure on the block who's been opening her home to these kids for a decade.
But she doesn't have a nonprofit status or a sign out front.
So to the experts, she was invisible. Now, the savior mindset says, well, our new building will be better. Let's just build it anyway.
But cultural humility says what?
He says, she's the expert. She has the trust. How do we come alongside her?
Don't invent, collaborate. That was the big takeaway. It's so much harder, though. You don't get the credit.
You don't get to put your name on the building, but you might actually solve the problem.
Okay, so we've done the audit, we've checked our ego, we're ready to actually do something. But passion without structure just leads to burnout.
And that's where the 90-day pilot comes in. This is the operational part, segment 4.
I do love a good timeline. Let's break it down.
The idea is to create a container. Right. You're not signing up for life. You're signing up for 90 days. It makes it manageable.
So month 1.
Month 1 is listening and preparation. And I'm telling you, this is the hardest month for anyone who's a doer.
Because it feels like you're not doing anything.
It feels like you're wasting time. You want to be handing out food. But this month is just for interviews, for asset mapping, for building relationships. You're preparing the soil. If you skip this, your project will fail.
Okay, so you resist the urge to launch. Then comes month 2.
Month 2 is active engagement. This is the sprint. For 4 weeks, you do the thing. The literacy program, the community cleanup, whatever it is, it's focused, it's intense, but it's time-bound.
And month 3.
Evaluation and celebration. And this is the one most of us skip. We finish a project and immediately ask, okay, what's next?
We're just addicted to the grind.
We are. But you have to stop. You have to gather the data, sure, but more importantly, you have to gather the stories. The text calls it doxology, which is about assigning meaning to the work.
It's about validating the effort.
Yes, and recognizing that something good happened. If you don't celebrate, your volunteers will burn out. Celebration is the fuel for endurance.
And speaking of volunteers, the source has a great breakdown of the team you need. It's not just about having warm bodies, you need specific roles.
Yes, you need archetypes. First up, you need the vision casters.
The why people.
Exactly. when things go wrong, and they will. The vision caster is the one who reminds everyone why this matters. They fight mission drift.
Then you need the organizers.
The how people. Logistics, spreadsheets, details.
Yeah.
Without them, the vision is just a hallucination.
And third, the one I think is most overlooked, the shepherds.
The shepherds are the who people. They're not worried about the tasks. They're worried about the team's health. They're checking in, making sure no one is burning out.
And finally, the reflectors.
This is the rarest one. The reflector is the one who helps the team learn. They ask the deep, sometimes annoying questions. What did we learn about our own bias today? They turn the project into a classroom.
And that idea of a classroom is the perfect transition to the final segment, segment 5, the global connection. Because I can hear someone saying, okay, but if we only focus on our neighborhood, don't we become insular?
That's a fair question, but the source argues the exact opposite. It calls these local projects educational microcosms.
Unpack that a little.
Okay, think about a local feeding program. On the surface, you're just handing out food. But if you have a reflector on your team, you start asking, why is this family hungry? Is it wages? Is it the cost of housing? Is it a supply chain issue?
Right, you start to see the huge systems behind the immediate symptom.
Exactly. You learn the mechanics of poverty right here in a context you can actually touch. And that gives you a much better framework for understanding poverty anywhere in the world.
It's like a simulator.
It is. If you can't grasp the complexity of why your neighbor is struggling, what makes you think you can solve it in a village 5,000 miles away? You'll just export your own ignorance.
The source also calls this skill transfer.
Right. The skills you learned locally, that cultural humility, the patience, the listening, those are the exact same skills you need for any effective cross-cultural work globally.
There's that great quote, faithfulness at home is the training ground for the nations.
It's a character test, really. If you can't be a good neighbor, you're probably not going to be a good missionary. It grounds your ambition in reality.
So let's bring this all back for the listener. They're driving, they're walking the dog, they're looking at their own neighborhood right now. What's the big takeaway?
I think the challenge here is to just disrupt your autopilot. We are so used to being spectators in our own communities. We wait for the experts, the government, the big nonprofit to fix things.
And this manual is saying, look down, look at your feet.
That's your mission field. The most strategic piece of ground you can possibly take is the one you're standing on right now.
So it's about moving from doing good as like a random hobby to faithful presence as a lifestyle.
Faithful presence. That is the whole thing. It's not about being the loudest or having the biggest budget. It's about being the person who knows their neighbor's name, who knows the local school needs supplies, and who actually shows up.
The source leaves us with one final thought I want to end on. It asks, what if the future of mission doesn't belong to the biggest organizations,
but to those who know how to mobilize people where they already are?
It puts the ball right back in our court, doesn't it? We don't need anyone's permission to start.
Just need to open the front door. Start small. Start by seeing. Do the audit.
And that is a wrap for this deep dive. We really hope this framework, the audit, the listening walk, that 90-day pilot, gives you a roadmap to engage your own community in a totally new way.
Thanks for listening.
Go meet a neighbor. We'll see you on the next deep dive.